I will go down the list alphabetically by member agency. Ted Wolf, Apache Junction.
Here.
Thank you. Brad Burgess is proxy for Audra Merrick, ADOT.
Here.
Thank you. Raj Thowdam, Avondale. Anissa Gerard is proxy for John Willett, Buckeye.
Here.
Thank you. CJ DiMaggio as proxy for, CJ DiMaggio, Carefree.
Present.
Thank you. Hal Marin, Cave Creek. Vice Chair Crampton.
Here.
Thank you. Jorge Gastelum, El Mirage.
Here.
Thank you. Romare Truly, FHWA. Christopher Salas, Town of Florence. David Janover, Fountain Hills.
Here.
Thank you. Jason Hafner, Gilbert.
Present.
Thank you. Parab Adabala, Glendale.
Present.
Thank you. Steve Cinto, Goodyear.
Present.
Thank you. Amanda Nelson, Guadalupe.
Present.
Thank you. Keith Drenaski, Litchfield Park. Scott Nodes, Maricopa. Chair Wilcox.
Present.
Thank you. Eric Guderian, Mesa.
Here.
Thank you. Shar Johnson, Paradise Valley.
Present.
Thank you. Andy Granger is proxy for Brandy Kelso, Phoenix.
Here.
Thank you. Garrett Stanwood is proxy for Christopher Wanamaker, Pinal County Public Works.
Here.
Thank you. Mohammed Yusuf, Queen Creek.
Present.
Thank you. Nathan Domi, Scottsdale.
Present.
Thank you. Kristen Taylor is proxy for Eric Bowles, Surprise.
Here.
Thank you. Shelley Seiler, Tempe.
Here.
Thank you. Chris Hamilton, Tolleson.
Here.
Thank you. Michael Togo Castillo as proxy for Trevor Collin, Valley Metro.
Here.
Thank you. Herschel Workman, Wickenburg. And Grant Anderson, Youngtown. Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you. Our next item is call to the audience. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MEG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, informational items, or items on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience unless the chair requests an exception to this limit. I have received no requests to speak for the call to the audience. MEG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MEG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. Staff, have we received any online written comments for the call to the audience?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any online written comments for the call to the audience.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 3, the MEG staff report. And Patrick Stone, MEG Deputy Transportation Director for Programming, will provide the report.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee. Happy to be here to present the report for the month of April. Watershed Month, we actually have 3 new committee members this month. Want to welcome John Willett, representing the City of Buckeye, Andy Smith from the Town of Florence, and Parab Adabala from the City of Glendale to the Transportation Review Committee. Appreciate all 3 of you joining us and providing your insight to the committee. Fiscal updates for the preceding month, the Highway User Revenue Fund, or HERF for the month of March. Really pretty good, just 0.9% under forecast. The collections for the month of March were essentially unchanged from March of 2024. On the Regional Area Road Fund, or RARV, collections a little bit, 1.1% below forecast. However, that is 1.6% over 2024. So both HERF and RARF are actually trending very close to forecast for the year, which is actually good news. And then finally, the last thing, big thing, currently we are doing a call for projects for the arterial competitive programs. We have both the arterial rehabilitation and reconstruction program and the arterial widening programs, $150 million in funding available. Just a reminder to member agencies and staff, Those applications are due next Friday, May 2nd at 5 p.m. Also to note, we do have a virtual workshop this afternoon via Zoom at 1 p.m. If you or your staff would like to attend and have not registered, please get with me and we'll get that link out to you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Patrick. If members have any questions, please contact Patrick after the meeting. Item number 4, informational items. There are no informational items today on the agenda. We can proceed to agenda item number 5, approval of the consent agenda. Items 5A and 5B are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the committee have any questions or request a presentation on any of these items?
Mr. Chair, this is Jason Hafner with the Town of Gilbert. I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Hafner.
Just curious on item 5B, the Transportation Improvement Program project changes. I noticed the 3 projects that are being changed for the Town of Gilbert have been final vouchered. I'm curious how the, I guess, reimbursement on those happens and if it has already happened. I talked to our finance group this morning and they said they hadn't received the approximately $113 check from MAG. So I was just kind of curious how that process happens.
Mr. Chair, members of TRC, Mr. Hafner, Jason, just to confirm, are these final vouchers on federal aid projects?
Yeah, there's 2 Safe Routes to School projects and then a project that was awarded MAG DA funds. So I'm assuming all 3 projects were managed by MAG and not by ADOT.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Hafner, let us research that. We'll certainly get back to you. Wendy Miller, our TIP program manager, will be reaching out to the town and clarifying what might be left to be done on that item.
Beautiful. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, sir.
Are there any other questions of the membership? Hearing none, prior to approval of the consent agenda, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any item on the consent agenda. I have received no requests for the consent agenda. Staff, have we received any online written comments for the consent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any online written comments.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve consent items 5A through 5B?
Jason Hafner, Town of Gilbert, so moved.
Thank you, Jason. Can I have a second, please?
Mohammed Yusuf, Town of Queen Creek, second.
Thank you, Mohammed. We'll have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone that participate in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on the cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kristen Taylor, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And Anissa Gerard, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Move on to item number 6. Third project deferral request, Town of Gila Bend. Gila Bend Unified School District Walkable and Bikeable Perimeter Project. This item is on the agenda for recommended approval and will be presented by Kay Bork, MAG Transportation Planning Program Manager.
Thank you, Chair, members of Transportation Review Committee. Today, I am here to introduce the Town of Gila Bend's request for their third project deferral for the Gila Bend Unified School District's Walkable Bikeable Perimeter Project. The deferral request seeks to move the design phase from fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2026, and then the construction phase moving from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 2027. The town has prepared their deferral request in accordance with the MAG federal funding programming guidelines, which requires agencies that are seeking multiple deferrals to present their justification and revised project plan. The presentation today will outline the circumstances that led to the delay. The town will also address how they're going to address those delay issues, as well as showing their financial commitment and revised project plan. The MAG Active Transportation Committee reviewed the deferral request and recommended approval at their May 18th meeting. This item is on your agenda for action. It also includes in the action for approval to approve the accompanying tip amendments that go along with that deferral approval. Today, I'm here to welcome Kathy Valenzuela, the town program manager, and she'll be presenting that deferral request. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, Chair and members of the Transportation Committee. Thank you for your time. So I'm here to present our third deferral request and share some of the circumstances and context for the delays. Next slide, please. Just to give an example, so looking at the overview of the town, the school is located closer to our San Lucie partner of the TO Nation. So our school serves quite a few of their students as well. Next slide, please. Again, this is the project area. The school had one of the factors, next slide, please, affecting this was the school had gone out for a bond once upon a time. It did not pass. That was when this was very first proposed. They went out for another bond and it did pass. And so that changed the orientation of pretty much everything, the entry points, the drop-off zones. So it was a complete kind of reimagining of the project. Next slide, please. In any event, there's a brand new school there, but there are no sidewalks. So what's happening in town right now is even though there's a new school, there's more attendees, there are no sidewalks in. And so the students are walking on the roads, and the parents are, have been quite vocal about wanting that to stop, obviously, as the town does as well. So the purpose of the project is not only to have the safe and accessible sidewalks, but it's really about making sure that we're being mindful of traffic and traffic calming and pedestrian safety, which is obviously top of mind. Next slide, please. So these pictures will show, these were taken just about 2 months ago, and you can see the students walking on the actual roads themselves. And so with that occurring, it just makes for a difficult sense of community and a difficult sense of public safety when when you see the students walking in their backpacks. And next slide, please. So to give the context of our first deferral request, obviously the pandemic, affected all communities. We could not do our Safe Routes to School studies because there was no school in attendance. There were no students in attendance, so that was the reason for the first deferral. The second one was not completed until December 2022 due to a delay in project authorization. The third deferral request, so what was happening during this time of the second deferral request, the town experienced a catastrophic flood in August of 2021. So for any community, that's a large event. For a community the size of Gila Bend, it is an enormous event. So not only do you have to deal with the actual flood itself, you have to deal with the aftermath, which involves FEMA and all that entails. So that was certainly something that took up quite a bit of staff capacity. There was a resulting lawsuit post-flood. So again, those were kind of extraordinary situations. What's different between now and then is we have a new town engineer, we have a new town attorney firm. So our new town engineer, Dale Miller, has had experience with safe routes to schools. So he's well versed in this, has done it in other communities. So that's a significant change on that project side. The town is also additionally contracted with larger firms such as Pierce Coleman for our legal services, such as Logan Simpson Design for our planning and zoning services. So we're growing in small strides, but certainly more better poised to be able to accomplish this. Next slide, please. So we do have the funding set aside in our capital improvement program for design review fees and construction. The dates Dale has talked through already with ADOT, and ADOT is in agreement with the proposed dates. Again, we would initiate the project in June 2025, design to be completed in fiscal year 26, and construction in fiscal year 27. Next slide, please. Again, these are all deadlines that Dale has already talked through with ADOT. ADOT is comfortable with this schedule. Again, with Dale's previous experience adhering to these deadlines and his project team behind him, I believe, I know that the town will be successful in accomplishing this schedule, which I know has implications for the region. So we certainly understand the importance of adhering to the schedule. Next slide, please. So again, we ask for your consideration in moving this forward, again, in the best interest of the the safety of our local students, and just certainly want to underscore, the experience of our new town engineer and our additional expert contractors assisting the town. So those are big changes from previous deferrals. So thank you for your consideration.
Well, thank you for the presentation. Do any members have any questions or comments on this agenda item?
Hey, Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you expect to have to acquire any right of way with this project? Or are you certain that there's not going to be any? Because that could.
No, we don't have any. We're not going to have to acquire any right of way.
Okay, thank you. And the funding source for this is CMAQ, I'm guessing?
So when this project was first, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Review Committee, Mr. Crampton, when this project was first completed, it was done when we did bike ped projects through both CMAQ and TA. We did a kind of a joint competitive process. I want to say this was a TA funded project. I'll have to go check, but either way, yeah, we have the regional funds available to program this project.
I have a question. How far along in design are you guys?
So we have the original study from Safe Routes to Schools as the guideline. I don't know offhand how close we are in design.
And do you know approximately how much sidewalks are being constructed? How much mileage?
The square footage.
Not square footage, mileage.
Mileage. I want to say it's maybe half a mile.
Okay. And there's bike lanes included in it?
And yes, there are.
That was it. Thanks.
Mr. Chair, this is Jason Hafner. I have a question as well.
Yes, Mr. Hafner.
From a process standpoint, what happens if the town of Gila Bend is unable to make the new timeline?
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee. Mr. Hafner, we have never considered to this point a fourth deferral request. We've never had a project get to that point. We've only had one previous third deferral request that the agency has been successful with. In working with the town, speaking with our partners at ADOT, we do feel comfortable that the schedule makes sense. It's deliverable. As Ms. Valenzuela noted, they do have a new town engineer who's very familiar with these projects. So all being said, we have confidence in the project that'll get delivered. We've never entertained or had to deal with a fourth deferral request, so we would have to cross that bridge when we get there. But I think the town and the region are committed to getting this project delivered if approved.
Thanks, Patrick.
Any other questions of the membership? Hearing none, prior to voting, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. I have received no request for this agenda item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any online written comments for this item.
Thank you. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the third deferral for the town of Gila Bend Unified School District Walkable Bikeable Perimeter Project to defer design from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 26 and construction from fiscal year 2025 to fiscal year 2027 and inclusion of the associated amendments?
This is Dave Janover. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dave. Can I have a second, please?
Al Marin, Cave Creek, second.
Thank you. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote? Those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call vote of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anissa Gerard, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to item number 7, Regional Programming Guidelines Update. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Patrick Stone, MEG Deputy Transportation Director for Programming.
Thank you, Chair Wilcox, members of the Transportation Review Committee. Again, a pleasure to be here to present this item. As you recall, we actually did bring this item through last month for some development updates. So this is kind of the next step in that process. So the regional programming guidelines, they're really an evolution of our programming guidelines. As noted in the third deferral request you just heard, all of this work activity is managed by our federal fund programming guidelines and procedures. Last approved by Regional Council in June of 2015. We're now nearing 10 years since the last approval. A lot has obviously changed in the landscape. Excuse me. Applies to all projects funded with federal funding suballocated to the region. And of note, it does not include the 3 life cycle programs. So both the arterial, which you'll hear an update on next from Ms. Kassler, freeway and transit have their own policies and procedures that guide those life cycle programs. A little bit of a history going back into the aughts. This was actually developed as part of a working group established by Management Committee. They recognized a need to have guidance in managing federal funding allocated to the region, specifically thinking about deferrals, development, and really a good idea was how do we help agencies who are not familiar with the federal process or maybe intersect with the federal process very infrequently, thinking especially of small agencies and inexperienced agencies. So in 2011, the original guidelines were approved, really just kind of outlined member agencies' responsibilities, more of a project development document. Then you move forward 4 years, 2015, the version we now use today. In the intervening 4 years, we had the census results come, the MAG region expanded into parts of Pinal County. And so the guidelines were actually enhanced to also account for that additional real estate. So the guideline revisions, these were really developed MAG staff recommendations. My team worked on building these. We brought them to TRC last month for some consideration and some thoughts about the guidelines. And really what we wanted to do here, and I really wanted to bring this graphic up to really emphasize why. The federal fund programming guidelines were just that. They cover federal funds. We had the RSTIP approved back in 2021. We've had the codifying update in 2023 as part of Senate Bill 1102. And what you really see on the screen here, these are the programmatic investments. Back in the day, we did a lot in the life cycle programs. We had just a handful of regionally funded programs. You now see we have a significant number. And the big thing you notice in the second column, the funding sources, we now have regional programs that are actually funded with sales tax dollars. So we have to have guidelines that account for the use of sales tax dollars because it is a little different than the federal funding. So what we're doing, we're here now in 2025, 10 years on. We brought the guidelines through last month, really had some feedback from the committee. Hey, are we on the right path with some of the key concepts that we were thinking about, specifically the deferral process and how do we manage projects through progress reporting. So what we've done in your agenda packet today, you do have a copy of those guidelines. We are asking for the membership of TRC to review those guidelines and perhaps provide any feedback you might have. I will note it's a PDF version. It's a very simple document. It's just bullet pointed, if you will. We have a much fancier version that we'll be bringing back to TRC next month that's formatted and all that. But we really want the membership to focus on the content. So if you would please take a moment, work with your staff. If you can get comments, any comments you have back by next Friday, May 2nd. If for ease of editing, a Word document would work better, please reach out to myself or Miss Lauren Marshall, who is assisting me, and we can get that to you. So it kind of reflects some of the slides from last month because I do think there's some value here. So we really have taken the guidelines and adapted them to deal with the concept of regional funding. The other big tenet and credit to Ms. Marshall, we've improved the readability. Before, the document was just done on 8.5 by 11. It was just bullet point after bullet point. This should be much more readable. There's some graphics. There's some other items of interest that should help improve the user experience. Kind of really reflected how and when the guidelines are approved, give more guidance and information to agencies about how to deal and use with the guidance. One of the big parts of the guidelines has always been the Transportation Program Guidebook. It's an annual publication that outlines next year. So we've really thought about making sure the guidebook does what the guidebook was intended to do and that it has the right focus, and bifurcating the concept of the guidelines are the high-level programming overview of how we do things, but the specific programs, and I mentioned earlier in my program manager's report, the 2 arterial competitive programs, those have specific policies and procedures. That's where the real application is done. These are more general guidance of project management and how you navigate the process. And then we kind of went through and looked at the guidelines, the federal fund programming guidelines. And are we still doing it the way we said we do it? Are we? So we made sure we had alignment with practices, with actual what the text says. So the 2 key things we talked about last month, and wanted to come back and just reiterate, this is where we're going with this. So for project deferrals, first deferrals, biggest change. We are no longer allowing first deferrals just maybe through an email or a phone call. Hey, I need to defer this project. It will actually require a committee presentation to the technical committee of Origin, just stating why. Hey, we ran into some schedule snafus or anything. And it's really to help the agency, and you heard it in the town's presentation. We really want to help the agencies be successful. So I think putting a little more of a lens on it helps ensure, hey, have you reached out to ADOT if necessary? Do you have a good schedule? To the comment provided earlier, do you have right-of-way considerations? One of the biggest snafus on a project. So we want to make sure there's a little more visibility. Second deferrals don't change. It requires a full committee process presentation. And then third deferral does change a little bit. You saw a third deferral request earlier today. The origin of the third deferrals will change. So instead of just getting it from staff or from an agency, we really want a city manager, county manager, that equivalent level to acknowledge and submit to MAG. We are aware that we are now asking for an extraordinary event. We feel confident that we have a good story to tell about that third deferral. Then finally, progress reporting. We kind of talked about this before. This has really been MAG's tool to work with member agencies to ensure projects are being delivered on time. We had a myriad of tools we used, some more effective than others. First, we had an agency commitment letter. Essentially, it was the agency telling us, hey, we know we've got a project coming up in the next 2 years. We're ready for it. We've kind of pivoted off that, and instead we now do annual agency coordination meetings. It's much easier to go out to our member agencies and have thoughtful conversations about projects that are upcoming. We used to do a project status workbook. It was an Excel workbook. It essentially looked like a project checklist you might receive from ADOT. Don't know how much value we got back. So we're looking more to eventually pivot this to an agency workbook. And it won't be a workbook. It's eventually going to be an online tool, but for now it may be an Excel-based. And out of that workbook in the prior step, we would do a report to committees twice a year saying, here's the status of the projects that we have programmed. Again, moving to an online tool. We don't want to have reporting just be a checkbox twice a year. Hey, here's how things are. We want to have a more active dashboard that we can see, agencies can see how their projects are doing. And then finally, tip amendment process, no change there. Really the intent of this entire revamp, more collaboration. So instead of just I send a workbook, you send it back, we have conversations about projects and really talk about issues that may be impacting. So where to go? A little pivot from last month's conversation. So we are having this additional update this month in April. We really did feel myself and Ms. Marshall, when we went through and did the rewrite, there was a lot in there that we would love to have agencies provide us some comments. So we're doing this presentation today. Take that feedback we get by next Friday the 2nd. We're going to bring the final document, the draft final document, to TRC for approval next month in May. And then we'll go into policy committees in June for subsequent approval. And then we will start using the new guidelines. With that, Chair Wilcox, members of TRC, that concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Do any members have any questions or comments of Patrick? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8. Update on the development of the Proposition 479 Arterial Life Cycle Program. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Carrie Kassler, MAG Transportation Planner 2. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, members. Today I'll be presenting an update on the Proposition 479 Arterial Life Cycle Program development activities. So just to orient ourselves, you guys could probably give this presentation, these slides by yourself, but the Prop 479 ALCP, the policies were developed by the ALCP working group, and they were approved by MAG Regional Council last month. And these really guide the administration and the maintenance of the program. And as a reminder, the Prop 479 ALCP is funded entirely by regional funds or the dedicated half-cent sales tax. So again, very familiar map here. The RSTIP outlines a total of 91 projects that are funded in phases 1 through 4. The estimates were generated by ADOT in fall of 2020, and so the RSTIP amounts originally express the project costs and reimbursements in 2020 constant dollars. So the reimbursements in the draft fiscal year 2026 Prop 479 ALCP that's in the agenda packet, those have been inflated to be expressed in 2025 constant dollars. So some considerations that went into the development of this program. First, as outlined in statute, the program has to be fiscally constrained. We cannot reimburse more than we have revenue, and this is consistent with the Prop 400 ALCP. Revenue collections begin Jan 1 of 2026, so sequencing the projects is really crucial. As outlined in the RSTIPs, the projects are slotted in 5-year phases. So this effort over the past several weeks has been programming each project into actual fiscal years rather than those 5-year blocks. So within that effort, adjustments to projects and phasings have been made in accordance with the policies and procedures. So some examples include advancements or deferrals. So if an agency, for example, has a project in phase 3 that is a higher priority than a project in phase 2, we can make that 1-for-1 swap. And finally, project change requests, which I will discuss more detail in just a minute. So the draft was created by MAG staff with input from the member agencies, and it was then circulated through the ALCP working group for review and then to provide feedback. Any comments we did receive were addressed and, if necessary, incorporated into the draft before you. All programmed reimbursements align with projected total revenues, as this program, again, is fiscally constrained. And so this item serves as an opportunity for members to review that draft fiscal year 2026 Prop 479 ALCP before it's brought through the committee process for action. So that process here outlined, so today we are bringing this item through for information to TRC. That item is going to continue through the MAG process and be presented to policy committees in May. Also in May, we will be bringing the draft fiscal year 26 Prop 479 ALCP for action to this body. And then it will be making its way through the policy committee process in June to be approved, hopefully by Regional Council on June 25th of 2025. So we understand that there's interest for changes to member agencies' projects, and this is allowable through the project change tool outlined in section 220 of the Prop 479 ALCP policies. So pending approval of the MAG or by the MAG Regional Council, the intent is for the project change tool to be made available to member agencies on June 26th of 2025. And the project change requests must be submitted on or before July 15th. After that, we will work with the agencies to ensure that all appropriate data and information is collected. And then the requests will be reviewed and evaluated by MAG Street Committee in September. and then taken through the MAG policy committees to be approved by Regional Council in October. So for reference, this project change process is typically done in tandem to the annual update for the ALCP. With this being the first year of the 479 program, we understand that there is an interest and a need to get some of those projects switched out as soon as possible. So we'll be doing this one-time mid-year adjustment to accommodate that need. And then going forward, it will continue on the normal schedule of occurring in the spring during the annual update process. Additionally, we are working to eventually get the project change process to an online format. But in the meantime, we will still be using an Excel-based approach, but we'll be updating, of course, to accommodate the new program. And then the intent is for member agencies to inform us as soon as possible about those projects that you'll be changing, which ones you're going to be bringing in. And that way we can provide the quantitative data for both of those projects, and then the agency can fill out the qualitative information. But again, more information to come on that. But otherwise, Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Carrie. Do any members have any questions or comments regarding this agenda item? Hearing none, thank you. Moving on to item number 9, requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests from the membership for an item on a future agenda? Hearing none, the next agenda item is comments from the committee. Are there any comments or announcements from the membership? Hearing none, the next meeting of the Transportation Review Committee will be on Thursday, May 22nd at 10 a.m. With no further business, today's meeting is adjourned at 10:38 a.m. Thank you.